Be Wealthy and Smart, episode 1537.
Step into a world of wealth and financial freedom without budgets, boredom, or bosses on Be Wealthy and Smart. And now, here's your host, Linda P. Jones.
Welcome to Be Wealthy and Smart. I'm Linda P. Jones, America's Wealth Mentor, empowering women and men worldwide to financial freedom. On today's show, we're going to talk about our new Accredited Investor rules coming. It was recently brought to my attention that the Equal Opportunity for All Investors Act of 2025 is addressing this issue, and it could expand the pool of people who can buy certain investments if they can pass an SEC test. The U.S. House of Representatives on Monday approved a bill to expand the definition of who can qualify as a so-called accredited investor under federal securities laws. Currently, to qualify as accredited, investors generally need an annual earned income of $200,000 for individuals, $300,000 for married couples, or a total net worth of at least $1 million, not including the value of your primary residence. And there are a few other ways to qualify, but basically, a lot of people have been left out of the loop because of the high income level requirement or the high net worth requirement. And people say that's to protect investors because private equity can be risky, but is it more risky than meme coins? Is it more risky than crypto? Is it more risky than going to Las Vegas and being able to gamble? I don't think so. So why specifically keep investors out of private equity? So in my book, 3 Steps to Quantum Wealth, I talk about private equity as an investment choice, and that according to the National Bureau of Economic Research, the average rate of return is 25% on early stage businesses. Now, a lot of private equity waits until businesses get to be unicorns, that is a value of $1 billion, and that eliminates some of the risk because now you're letting the business become successful before people invest in it. And certainly letting it get to $1 billion in market cap weeds out a lot of those smaller companies that are not going to succeed. It doesn't mean that they will succeed and go on to grow and be more successful and appreciate in value, but it gives investors a greater chance that perhaps they will. So I'm all for investors being able to invest in private equity. Now, what this bill is proposing is that investors take a test to see if they're knowledgeable enough to invest in private equity. I kind of think that's backwards. I think what the SEC should do is provide the education to invest in private equity rather than not provide the education and then exclude them if they don't understand the concepts in the test. But under this current bill, it is suggesting that provided they can pass a test from regulators, then they could invest in private equity and gain access to investments typically reserved for the wealthy. Accredited investors are right now permitted to invest in a wider range of assets, including pre-IPO companies, private credit and equity, venture capital, and hedge funds. So the Equal Opportunity for All Investors Act of 2025 would direct the Securities and Exchange Commission to create a test that individuals can take to qualify as an accredited investor without regard to their wealth or income. Well, that's a step in the right direction, but I think what's really needed here is the education. Representative Mike Flood of Nebraska said, "In my view, wealth alone is not a particularly strong judge of whether someone should be an accredited investor or not. A better one is whether someone has the knowledge to accurately weigh the benefits and risks of private offerings." And he's one of the sponsors of the bill on the House floor. The bill still has to pass the Senate and be signed by the President before it can become law. Flood said, "The exam created by this bill is meant to strike the right balance between rigorously testing for sophistication and not being set to such a difficult standard that even an intelligent investor could not pass it." The positive thing about this proposal is it's also aimed at getting more money into the hands of startup businesses. Representative Sarah McBride of Delaware said small business leaders say that it's not a lack of ideas, but a lack of capital that holds them back. This bill opens up new sources of funding from a pool of investors more reflective of the community, so that these founders can turn their vision into jobs and economic growth. Companies are already gearing up for more investors to be qualified to participate in private markets. Eric Satz, founder and CEO of Alto, a self-directed IRA platform, said, "I think this is really a great step in terms of opening up what has otherwise been a walled garden. We have to give everyone the opportunity to participate as if they were an ultra-high net worth investor or a large financial institution." Yeah, I think the key to maintaining risk with investments like this is just how much you allocate to your portfolio. Typically, with private equity, I recommend about a 15% allocation. So the key is not to be overboard with your allocation, and that's one way that you can minimize your risk, even though you're investing in something that has higher risk. But I have to say, I'm really excited to see a bill like this be on the floor and to make these positive changes for investors. I think investors should have all opportunities available to them, and that they're smart enough to make those decisions for themselves. And they shouldn't be locked out of some of the best opportunities that are available to build wealth. If you haven't yet subscribed to Be Wealthy and Smart, hit the subscribe button and you'll be notified as soon as new podcasts are available. And all of my podcasts are on my website at lindapjones.com/podcasts. And while you're there, sign up for my weekly newsletter for more wealth tips for your financial freedom. That's all for today. Until next time, live the good life and be wealthy and smart.
Thank you for listening to Be Wealthy and Smart with Linda P. Jones. Share the wealth and tell your family and friends about the show. Check out our website, blog, and social media for more riches at www.bewealthyandsmart.com.